We waited this one. Yeah. And I'll give stream yet. It was there were some technical issues, but we all have those. Definitely go show maybe videos. It says we'll get into that in a bit, Stacy. Thank you, Brandon, as well, for dropping their link. I appreciate that. All right, so let's talk about their Blackback Rye Whiskey. Now, obviously named after like Silverback, you know, like the gorillas, or I guess they're gorillas. Is the name. They actually talked a little bit about where the name inspiration came from. You know, that may have actually been on their website. So let's just pull that up right quick. Their website is sbdistillery.com, by the way, if you guys are curious. They had a little bit of info about the name. I feel like I remember reading that, and I just wish I remembered exactly where it was. There we go. Silverback is the nickname given to Christine's husband. So his name is Denver. He's one of the co-founders there, and their daughters gave him that nickname. So that's kind of where the origin for Silverback Distillery came from. It was a learning experience, but a lot of fun. Yeah, no, it was great meeting you guys, and definitely look forward to doing more. All right, so let's get to this rye whiskey. So like I said, 86 proof, at least 2 years old, made with well water and hand-selected grains. So let's give it a nose. Definitely different. So over on Bill's stream, I was drinking some Australian whiskey, actually, from Starward. And that was definitely different. That was red wine cask influence. So this one's a lot more, mellow than that one. It's definitely higher proof, but it's definitely on the nose. It's got a really interesting, I don't want to say spiciness because, like, obviously it's a rye whiskey, right? There's something extra there. There's like a bit more of like it's a different kind of spice than I'm used to. You know what it actually reminds me of? It's almost like a amaretto, like a almond or what is amaretto? It's almond, right? Like Di Serrano, like whatever the nut they use to make that one. I'm getting a little bit of that with the spice too. A little bit. It's less grainy and more nutty than I would have expected from a rye whiskey. Super interesting. Let's give it a try. Cheers, y'all. Okay. So a lot more, it's still really interesting. That actually reminds me a lot of another craft distillery I had on, man, it's been probably a year ago now. Do y'all remember when I had Whiskey Acres on? It was another very, very small craft. It was actually a farmer who did the distilling there. I believe they were based out of, is it Indiana? I just know our friend Eric Jansen was a big fan. He actually introduced me to them. This is very reminiscent of their rye whiskey, which is, you could really detect that this is a very unique grain they're using for this. It's unlike any other rye whiskey, even in craft whiskey. The only thing I can relate it to is that other one. It has a really nice almond liqueur. Thank you, Alexander. Yeah. So there's definitely like a different kind of nuttiness that I don't think I've ever gotten on a rye whiskey before, other than, like I said, the Whiskey Acres. And one of my favorite things about rye whiskey is you can have a 2-year-old rye whiskey and it still tastes great. A lot of time with craft bourbon, when it's released at like 2 years old, you're like, not my favorite thing in the world. But rye whiskey, I think the graininess actually improves the rye whiskey for me. Now, Brandon, I know you had a question earlier about whether the size of the barrels they're using. Based on my taste of this, I would not guess they're using small barrels. Now they are in, Virginia and Pennsylvania, so the weather fluctuations not as intense as like Kentucky or Texas or anything like that. So there is a chance that maybe they are using smaller barrels and it's just not being affected by the heat as much. But I'm not getting any of that small barrel funkiness on this. So I think that's a good thing in my book. We see some more people popping in here. Jeffrey Watt, good to see you, man. Hope you're doing well. I don't think we've had a chance to really chat before, but glad to have you here. I know you are a big supporter of all the channels here on WhiskeyTube. So good to see you here again. Steve Burkow in the chat. What's up, Steve? Hope you're doing well, man. Hopefully the new place is treating you well. Tim, I already said hey to you. Illinois. I'm sorry. I said Indiana, right? I was like, when I said Indiana, I immediately was like, that doesn't sound right, because like Indiana's MGP and like, what's the other one? Like Frey Ranch. Not Frey Ranch. They're Vegas. There's another Indiana. Rabbit hole tangent. Sorry. DeKalb, Illinois. Thank you guys for the correction. Mark is here. Good to see you, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. I just want to make sure that missing. Donald Rance is back. I was talking to Donald a bit earlier on the Whiskey Crusaders, Whiskey Dick stream, Whiskey and Chill stream. Yeah, nice crowd tonight. Yeah, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Yeah, definitely follow Jeffrey Wack. I have to make sure I'm following him on Instagram. I don't know if I am for sure, but great guy. So off to a good start with this rye. It's definitely it tastes like a craft rye, and I'll say that. If you're not used to a craft rye and you're only used to like MGP's 95.5 rye at 5, 6, 7 years old, it's going to be very, very different from that. But I think this is really onto a really great path. And I know it sounds lame to say like, oh, I can't wait to try this when it's older because they release it when they think it's ready. But I think this rye has something really special about the grain that they're using for this. They did say they did hand milled grains. I think this is going to make for some incredible whiskey later on in life. But I could see this 2 years serving as a base for their honey rye we're going to move to in a bit at the end of the stream. I think this is the perfect one to use for a flavored whiskey because, no, I say flavored, but I don't want to say infused because they are actually using real honey with this one. I think that the rye spice and the unique grain qualities of this will carry over even when there's honey added. So I can't wait to see how that does. I'll still save some in the glass for the very end and do a little side-by-side between the rye and the honey rye. So let's go and move on to some of their more limited releases. I'm very excited for them to have sent these over. One of these was not out at the time that they sent these samples and may be out now. I'm not sure. That is their Alpha Series Wheat Whiskey. This one I'm super, super excited to try. They released this only in 375 milliliter bottles. It's basically Alpha Series is their experimental release. They do several of them throughout the year. They've done things like a white corn, they had a list earlier that I had pulled up, but it's actually, no, I had it right here. So the previous Alpha Series releases they've done were a sour mash corn whiskey, a bourbon, a rye, and this wheat whiskey is their latest Alpha Series release. So 123 proof, 5 years, and not just that, this has been aged in rum barrels. So I'm not sure if that entire 5 years it was in those rum barrels. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I'm still really excited for this one. So this is, like I said, 100% wheat whiskey. Let's go and get that poured. This is the highest proof we're having tonight. I did want to save the Irish whiskey for right after this because I know switching to malted and unmalted barley is going to be a huge drastic change. But I did want to go in and get to the wheat whiskey after trying the rye whiskey. Before we get to that, I do want to say, if you're not yet following my podcast, I do a podcast every Friday morning. It's called the Bourbon Bytes podcast. You can get it wherever you get your podcasts. This week's episode is a Trader Joe's barrel strength bourbon. So this is actually a Barton sourced barrel strength bourbon from Trader Joe's, 125 proof and $30. So if you're curious about my thoughts on that one, make sure to check out the Bourbon Bytes podcast. You can find the Podbean link in my description, but you can just search Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast, for the Trader Joe's. We'll search for the Bourbon Bytes podcast, and then tomorrow morning you'll see that podcast come out. But super excited to get to that review. So Brandon says, good call. They show 53-gallon barrels on their website unless they're aging another spirit. Could be, but yeah, I think they're definitely using larger barrels for some of their releases. Starlight is Indiana. Thank you. I was trying to think of the other one that was in Indiana. Appreciate that. Perry's here. Sorry I'm late and that I missed the past few weeks. Hope everyone is well. Good to see you. Good to see you, Perry. Hey, I know I missed your stream today. Like I said, I was on with our friend Bill from the Whiskey Dick. He invited me to be a part of his stream tonight. So I did miss your stream tonight. If you guys missed This Is My Bourbon podcast stream, make sure to check him out and give him a subscribe and watch him on Thursday nights. He goes live at 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. Unfortunately, there's some overlap with Bill and him. And it's just so tough on Thursday nights. We've had this discussion before. There's just so many channels, and it's really hard not to overlap. So if you do miss someone live, maybe you've missed my live because there's a Scotch channel that goes live same time I go live, and they've been doing it longer than me. So no shame there. But if you could watch the replay to those of us that you're missing live, we really do appreciate it. If you could comment watching the replay, just let us know you're there and that you enjoyed the stream. It really does mean a lot to us. So make sure to watch Perry's replay. Zephyr said, did someone say Trader Joe's? Oh man, Zophyr is the Trader Joe's king. He loves it. So Donnie says, down boy. Yeah. Oh yeah, the bottle is definitely the Rock Hill Farms bottle. I don't have it in front of me, but the image for tomorrow's podcast has it on there. Top Shelf Dustin says there's only 3 channels I see live now. I know. It's really tough, man. But I appreciate you stopping in, even if it's just for a moment. Tony Bag of Donuts is here. Hello, Cliffy. Can't wait to wear my Cliffy Bus shirt. Yes, thank you so much for buying that. For those of you who don't know, okay, For those of you who don't know the whole Cliffy Bus thing, I competed in Map Madness this year. The Shelf Turds, aka the whiskeychannel.com, wrote a song called "The Cliffy Bus is Coming." It's amazing. I almost said it's delicious. That's a little weird. It's an amazing song, but anyways, I made some merch for it, and David actually wore it on this past Monday's live stream, which I joined him for. And we wore our matching Cliffy Bus shirts, and I saw Tony bought a shirt and someone else bought a shirt a bit later. So if you guys, hey, great segue. If you guys want to get a Bourbon Bytes merch, including this Bourbon Bytes Pro Drinker shirt and a Cliffy Bus shirt, as well as other cool shirts, you can go to bourbonbytes.threadless.com. I believe there's still a sale going on where t-shirts are only $14. Don't quote me. That may have ended yesterday, but if it's still going on, make sure to get on that before it ends, because great deal. And also it helps support creators that use Threadless. I mean, I know Perry also uses Threadless, so get your orders in if you want them. Now's a great time for a great price. Okay, enough of the promo. Let's go and move on to this Alpha Series wheat whiskey. Like I said, 123 proof, so huge step up. Steven says I'm definitely gonna get that as a skateboard. Hey man, it's there. I haven't gotten anyone to buy one yet, but if you do, definitely send me pictures. I'll definitely use them. Thank you so much, Donnie, for dropping the link. If a song can smell like teen spirit, why not a Cliffy Bus song being delicious? I like how you think, Dustin. Also, check out Top Shelf Dustin's channel. Top Dog says, can one of the mods post Perry's link in the chat? Yeah, absolutely. Drop Perry's link to his live stream that he did earlier tonight. We'd appreciate that. And always good to support our other Thursday night, I don't know what we call it, Thursday Night Legends. Let's just call ourselves that. By the way, 41 in the chat. That's a record for a long time. Not the most ever, but the most probably all year. So I want to say thank you to every single one of you that are tuning in. If you are enjoying it, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe. Go live this time every Thursday night. Hope to see you back. Doing some fun things, like including a rum, maybe some craft canned cocktails, and of course more bourbon, because who would I be without my bourbon? So cheers to y'all. Let's try this Alpha Series wheat whiskey. Oh, wow. Ooh. That has a lot of barrel influence. Like I said, 5 years old. Now, this is in rum barrels. So, to me, these taste heavily charred. There's so much barrel char going on. It almost reminds me of a Texas whiskey with how charred these taste. Which makes me wonder, back to Brandon's question, maybe they're using smaller barrels for this Alpha Series. There's no info here whether they are or not. But I would imagine with it being experimental, they're only releasing 375 milliliter bottles. I can see them using smaller barrels. So again, not sure whether they're sourcing the rum for, or if they're finishing in the rum cask versus fully aging in the rum cask. I don't have that info. Like I said, this release actually wasn't even out at the time that they sent me these samples. Like, that's why it has the sticker on it. It's like, hey, this isn't official yet, but you're allowed to talk about it in the stream. But man, that's really, really good. Vastly different from the rye whiskey. The rye whiskey was subtle, sweet, typical craft rye taste. This, though, is another level. If you love a good charred whiskey, oh man, so different. For a wheat whiskey, this is packed with flavor. Yeah, Brandon, I'm not sure. It does. So I'll show you. I don't know if it'll show up on camera, but I almost got all the info, but like I said, this was not released at the time they sent me these samples. So if you look, so here's the info they sent me. Age, 5 years aged in ... So I didn't get the full info, but I do see later on that they are using rum barrels. So I'm not entirely sure if they are fully aged in the rum barrels. You know what? There's their phone number. You want to give them a call and ask them. I'm sure they're closed right now, but hey, feel free to reach out to them. But some good info there. Let's see. Big Fix says, hey, Cliff, those shirts aren't fluffy friendly. Is there a chance you can make those a bigger size? So Big Vic, is it just the Cliffy Bus shirts that are seeing that? Because I do know some of the other shirts, if you click on the different materials, I believe a while back ago. By the way, I haven't actually chat. Hope to see, of course. Okay. And then double check if you want a Cliffy Bus shirt. I'll make sure to check that box to get it to go up to the larger sizes. And I apologize for that. I was aware of the fact that the other sizes don't go up higher than 3X. I just thought I had enabled that on the Cliffy Bus shirt. So I'll make sure everything lines up about the position of the logo, and I'll make sure you guys can get that. So apologies for that there. Bourbon says need to add classic to go to 5XL. Will do. I think the classic ones are on sale right now, so just need to double check what the sizes are for that, but I appreciate that. We'll get that fixed right after the show. Jen A is hanging out, about to have a pour. Well, Jen, let us know what you're going to pour. Mark has an ancient age. Oh man, I bought one of those last time I was in North Carolina. I wish I could find it more regularly. It's very, very good for the price. I mean, blows away ancient age for sure. Alexander says Wild Turkey 101. It's too late for anything more intense. I think it's funny, Alexander, earlier you're like, oh, I'm just drinking water. And they're like, I'll wear some Wild Turkey 101. I'm glad I have an awful influence on you. That's what we do here. Woodinville port finished for Steve Burkow. Good to see that. Love Woodinville here. The fluffy among us, appreciate that. Well, I appreciate my fluffies and my furries. By furries, I mean furry friends. Obviously, not like. I mean, I appreciate everyone. Honestly, Pride Month, Happy Pride. I'm wearing my Pride band. Got my Pride Apple Watch on. Happy Pride Month too, everyone. I was gonna say all that celebrate, but no. Even if you don't celebrate, Happy Pride Month because. Blah. Anyways, moving on. Let's go ahead and man, that wheat whiskey. One of the most interesting wheat whiskeys I've ever tried. It's especially at this high proof. I mean, this beats, in my opinion. I love Larceny Barrel Proof. Larceny Barrel Proof, other than a couple releases that have been really fantastic, this is more interesting than Larceny Barrel Proof. And I'll say that. It's 5 years old. It's a little bit younger. But there's a little bit more of that char that's going on here is really amplifying the wheat. This is a really cool experiment, and I'm glad they did it. Top Dog says, I poured Devil Share from San Diego. Oh, was that from Cutwater? So I don't think I've tried their Devil Share, but I've tried a couple of their products. Love their canned cocktails, by the way. Their tasting room at their distillery. I love going to visit every time I'm in San Diego. I've been a couple times. But yeah, Cutwater's awesome. Mash bill for this wheat whiskey is 100% wheat. So yeah, definitely you can tell. And that's a great point. Thank you for reminding me. Larceny is a wheated bourbon. That might be the difference. This is okay. Let me backtrack because I don't want to say it's better than a bourbon. This is better than any wheated whiskey, like 100% wheat whiskey I've ever tried. And I'll say that with confidence. Now I'd like to revisit some. I have not had the Bernheim Cask Strength. But of all the wheated whiskeys I've tried, this is my favorite so far. So there's that. All right. We do have 2 more whiskeys to try here tonight. So I want to get through them. We're about the halfway point. Like I said, if you guys have not hit the thumbs up button, definitely do. Show this distillery some support. Like I said, they're on TikTok. Just search for Silverback Distillery. They're also on Instagram. I think it's SV Distillery on Instagram. I tagged them in a post earlier on my story. So if you're not yet following me on this Instagram, Bourbon Bytes, same way you see it spelled here. I also am on TikTok, by the way. I haven't made a TikTok in a while, but I have a couple ideas brewing. So if you are on TikTok, let me know. But that's actually how I discovered Silverback. They also have a newsletter on their website, sbdistillery.com, where you can get all the latest releases, updates about their special releases. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to the next whiskey of the night, which will be the one that I'm very, very curious about. Let me go ahead and rinse my glass real quick because I know this is a very different spirit than the wheated whiskey we just tried. All right. Just rinse the glass here a bit. And drink water because much needed, especially with high proof whiskeys. Top Shelf Dustin said, I doubt I've had 10 100% wheated whiskeys, and I think I did a pick where I tried 5. Yeah, there's not very many out there. I know, like I said, the Bernheim one that comes out of Heaven Hill. I've had their standard one. I know there's a cask strength one that was supposedly made. I have not seen it before. I also know that the Tennessee distillery, Old Dominic, does a wheated mash bill. Now they are sourcing from MGP for that one. But that also wasn't at cask strength, I believe. So I can't really compare that one to it. Ray V, by the way, welcome. Have you tried ASW Fiddler? It's a wheated cask strength. I haven't even heard of ASW. Can you let me know what that is? I've not heard of that one. Definitely happy to try it. I really, that makes me more excited than I've ever been about wheated whiskeys ever. So definitely am really interested in trying more. Jen A is having some Elmer T. Lee. Oh man, love that bottle. I think my favorite, I need to do another live stream. A while back ago, I did a live stream where I did all of the Buffalo Trace mash bill number 2 once compared. So Rock Hill Farms, Blanton's, Elmer T. Lee. I don't really remember the results, but thankfully I have the same sample set thanks to my friend Swan, who sent over some samples as well as a few that I've collected over the time. I would love to revisit that now that I'm a few more years into my whiskey journey and see which one's my favorite. Last time Rock Hill Farms beat it, but I've heard some good things about Elmer T. Lee lately, so I need to try that. Brandon says, only know of 3 other distilleries. Frey Ranch, that's a good one. Refined. I know I've tried their rye, but not their wheat. And Bernheim, yeah. I'm sure there's others, but those are the only ones I'm aware of as well. Lil, good to see you. Lil is our friend from Australia who I will be seeing in Las Vegas in September. By the way, if you guys are interested, there is going to be a Las Vegas meetup the first weekend in September. I think it's Labor Day weekend. It's not like an organized like conference or anything like that, so don't get too excited. But if you happen to be in Las Vegas the week of September 1st through 5th, I will be there. Several other whiskey channels will be there, and our friends from Australia will be there. Let me know in the chat if you guys are going to be there. Definitely want to make sure to plans to see everyone. I know Chad and Sarah from It's Bourbon Night. I know Shelters were thinking about going. I'm not sure if they're still going, but I know Mike Stahl, Livewire Whiskey, Storytime Whiskey. All these other incredible channels are coming, and I cannot wait for that. Make sure I'm saw. Drink that water. It's National Hydration Day. Is it really, Mark? That's a lesson I could definitely learn to take because I'm really bad about not drinking water during my stream. So cheers to National Hydration Day. I love that. Stay hydrated, folks. Make sure. Oh yeah, Brandon was there for that stream as well. Journeyman. Okay. Journeyman Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey. Ooh, I love that name, Robert D. I've had one Journeyman, but it was a weird one and it wasn't my favorite, but that was literally 3 years ago. So I'm gonna have to look up Corsets, Whips, and Whiskey. That sounds like a YouTube channel, and it would be one that I would subscribe to. Anyways, moving on. Dry Fly, Woodford, Fearless, KO Distillery, and Old Elk. Oh, you're right. Old Elk does do a cast strength one. Have not had a chance to try that, but that's James Taylor listing all these incredible ones. I haven't tried Dry Fly. I did try the Woodford one. It was okay. Have not tried any of the other ones though. All right, so I know that. I'm sorry if I missed anything in the chat. Please know that I'm trying to get caught up. 49 in the chat. Holy crap! That's again new record this year so far. So thank you guys so much for that. All right, let's move on to the next one, which is the one I'm excited for. I'm sure Stacy's also excited for this one. This is their Irish style whiskey. Now, the reason I say this has some controversy, it's not this one. Actually, Kings County Distillery out of New York recently released an Irish style whiskey. I think they called it Irish style whiskey, and they got into some deep poo poo. So apparently, let me go to my Twitter because I retweeted it. The info on that when I saw it. It is the Irish Whiskey Association. They actually sent a cease and desist to Kings County because they called their Irish style whiskey an Irish style whiskey. I don't know the semantics of like the laws and everything like that. I think it's a little, unless you're literally saying you're an Irish whiskey, I don't see why there's a huge problem. I feel like Irish style is a type of whiskey. Again, we're drinking one right now tonight. I also think it's just like, I don't know. Unless you're literally saying it's Irish whiskey, I don't necessarily see the problem. And I know Ireland wants to defend their whiskey for sure. But I feel like I've seen like other distilleries do a American style whiskey to be fair, Crown Royal, remember they did that bourbon mash, which was like they ended up changing it to blenders mash. So I get people want to hold their interest, but I feel like as long as you're not literally saying this is made in Ireland, I don't necessarily see an issue. But I know this is a topic for discussion. So, so Stacey has a little bit more information. So they do have. It was actually a poitín. I think I pronounced that right. Poitín. So I think there were 2 releases. Then I could be wrong because I know that I saw that they called it a poitín, which I understand that being a problem. Is that the one that's causing all the controversy? Again, I literally just learned about this an hour and a half ago. Was it that was causing the issue? If so, I kind of see where they're coming from. Not gonna lie. If that's what it is, I literally thought it was just the fact that it was Irish style. I didn't realize it was literally labeled as a poitín. Then that's a different issue. Yeah. So sorry to get ramped up about that. They had a whiskey and a poaching. The whiskey got them the cease and desist. Okay, so it was both issues. Okay, I I do agree with the fact that if they are labeling it a poaching, which is basically the Irish equivalent of moonshine, it's a very specific. It's just literally the name of like Irish moonshine. I can see that being an issue. I can, but the Irish style whiskey to me is not as big of an issue. But again, I'm not a lawyer. This is not my professional opinion. This is just Cliffy's drunk opinion. So, anyways, that's been said. I'm curious to hear what you guys think, but let's go ahead and try this Irish style whiskey from uh, Silverback, which is a much smaller distillery. Irish Whiskey Association. Please don't go after them. They're tiny. They're just a baby. They're just a baby. Okay, let's pour the Irish style whiskey. All right. So this one, I have some info on this release. This is called Christine Riggleman's Reserve. Okay. Maybe this isn't the full name. It says Christine Riggleman Reserve Irish Whiskey. I assume there's an Irish style whiskey. I'm not trying to get anyone in trouble. Y'all don't report them. Anyways, it says Christine Riggleman Reserve Irish Whiskey. It's 112 proof. This is a single barrel number 263. The number of bottles from this barrel were 146 bottles. So maybe you can make inferences about the barrel size there. To me, that makes it sound like it's a full-size barrel because 146 bottles at 112 proof is a pretty large amount from a single barrel. This is 5 years aged in a used bourbon barrel. Has a mash bill of 80% unmalted barley and 20% malted barley. This is their first release of an Irish-style whiskey. Christine, one of the founders and master distillers, is an Irish whiskey lover. She's actually from Irish descent, and her husband was actually born on St. Patrick's Day. So they got some Irish blood in the family. So she was inspired to make this whiskey to kind of not replicate, but kind of honor the Irish style of whiskey making. I'm a big fan of Irish whiskey. I do a lot of it here on the channel. If you missed it, I've done plenty of streams from Teeling to I did a recent it was a Irish whiskey that you may not have heard of. I forgot what it was called, but that was the name of the stream. It was like unpopular Irish whiskey. I did that for St. Patrick's Day this year. Definitely check it out. We did some really cool and interesting ones there. So yeah, 5 years used barrel. Alexander said, I might have missed a third, but 40 minutes in and only 2 drams. What is this amateur hour? I know, Alexander, I'm trying to time it right. I only got 4 to drink tonight for this distillery. So I stick to my goal is 1 hour. You know what? We're about to be 3 in. I think I'm doing okay on time, but I appreciate you checking on me and making sure I am drinking. That's always the one. Stacy says the potion one is the one that I had a problem with. If they changed the labels, they'd be out $50 worth of at Staples. Oh God, you're right though. Like Kings County, their labels are literally just like a white label. You're right. That's hilarious. I'm probably more passionate than most. Hey, no, understandably so. You're like you and Donald Rance are like the Irish whiskey, like kings and queens of whiskey tube. I'll get to try traditional Irish poaching. A sample. Oh man, I am so excited, Stacy. Thank you so much for the chance to try that. They listed where it was created on the label, so I doubt it could be confused with Irish whiskey. Yeah, good point. Cohen says the new Redbreast 101 is out. I know Mission had it and they sold out, so I'll have to double check to see if they get it back in stock. Robert D says, well, I get torched in chat if I admit Jameson Black is my favorite Irish. I'll admit I've not tried Jameson Black. I really love the Jameson Stout release they had a couple years back. I also love Jameson 18. My favorite Irish is probably more in the Redbreast line, whether it's the 12 cask strength. The 15 is pretty great too. The Lestelle, the PX. I also love a good spot whiskey when it comes to that. I haven't had them in a minute, but I have a feeling I'm going to be trying some spots here soon. So wink, wink. Make sure to subscribe. All right. So let's go ahead and give this Irish style Christine Riggleman Reserve whiskey a nose. That's really super caramel forward, a lot sweeter than the rye and the wheat on the nose. That barley grain is definitely showing itself there. I've had a chance to smell like actual like barley, like unmilled barley. Getting a lot of that impact here. And it's not necessarily like a cereal grain, kind of like an odd note sometimes we get. To me, this is more of like, yeah, like it kind of reminds me of like a dusty kind of like, I don't want to say barnyard because barnyard sometimes is considered a bad way, but to me, it's just like the raw grain on the nose. But I can't wait to give it a try. Cheers. That's so interesting. Definitely still the raw grain on the palate. It's definitely like, I'm not getting, it's not like a cereal grain, because like there's a certain cereal grain that I don't like in barley. I'm not getting that. To me, this is more of, it's less the refined barley and more of the raw barley. Again, it's like kind of like a hay, kind of like a kernel, like a corn kernel kind of note. Literally like the actual barley grain. I had the second sip of that one. So it's 80% unmalted barley, which makes me feel like maybe that's what I'm getting, that actual grainy flavor. Because with malted barley, I feel like it brings out a lot more of like the malty roastedness of it. But unmalted barley, and maybe I'm learning that it's kind of giving me more of the traditional grain kind of note. This one though, I do like